Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Daily Triple, your no shit gaming news video. That's 3 news stories in one video with zero faff. In this dry period of video game releases and interesting news, one of the only somewhat significant games launching is Monster Hunter Rise. It's not a series that I personally have any prior experience with, but this new entry is being very well received, especially as a Switch exclusive. For those unaware, Monster Hunter is pretty much what it sounds like. You hunt monsters. Most of them are massive boss-sized beasts that take strategy to bring down, but once you beat them, you can use their body parts as weapons and armor for your next conquest.
That's horrible. It's disgusting.
The game officially launches tomorrow on March 26th, and at the time of writing it has an 87 on Metacritic based on 66 reviews. 63 of those reviews are positive, leaving just 3 mixed and 0 negative, which is very impressive. To keep this short, I'm only going to be picking 5 reviews from different ends of the spectrum, all of which are linked below if you want to read them in full. First up is Shindig, which is not an outlet I'm familiar with, but it gave the game 5 out of 5 stars, making it one of 4 perfect scores. Writer Matthew Codd praised how this version lives up to and even exceeds the popular Monster Hunter world. Monster Hunter has gone from strength to strength over the years, and Monster Hunter World in particular felt like a high point for the series, but Monster Hunter Rise manages to one-up even that ambitious game. A renewed focus on vertical level design and mobility take everything that makes Monster Hunter work to new heights, pun absolutely intended, and the Japanese inspiration gives this latest outing a very different, very impressive new sense of style, but without forgetting the series' roots. Truly, Rise is Monster Hunter at its absolute best. He gives particular praise to the game's traversal and level design with very little in the way of negative criticism. Next up, let's look at Gaming Bible, which gave the game 7 out of 10, which is at the lower end of all the scores, but for this outlet that still qualifies as very good. Reviewer Dan Abdu listed a number of pros, including hours of content, your canine companion Palamute is great for traversal, and the wirebug tool is useful for mounting monsters. His cons are that the game is tough to play in handheld mode, likely a selling point of having the game exclusively on Switch, so that's worth noting, and tutorials can become tiresome. All in all, if you're a fan of the Monster Hunter franchise, then this new installment will absolutely tick all of your boxes and more with all the new additions it brings. While Monster Hunter World was definitely a game designed to welcome new players, Monster Hunter Rise calls back to the core fans. If you're relatively new, this might be intimidating at first, but once you get the hang of it, there's a lot of fun to be had either solo or with a group of friends. After that, we'll slide a little more positive again with IGN, which gave the game 8 out of 10 and called it great. It is worth pointing out that IGN Japan was among the outlets that gave the game a perfect score. Reviewed by Tom Marks, he said Monster Hunter Rise mixes classic Monster Hunter ideas with some of World's best improvements and a whole bunch of clever new mechanics of its own. Not all of them are slam dunks, but they are all fun, and the introduction of wirebugs and the mobility they bring to every fight is so great I never want to give them up. The post-launch updates Capcom is already teasing can't come soon enough, but Monster Hunter Rise is still a thrilling step forward in the series' evolution towards the new normal world so boldly introduced. The wirebug tool once again gets a lot of praise here and is a kind of grappling hook device which runs on charges and can be used in combat as well as traversal. Since I've been binge watching Attack on Titan recently, this feature looks like a whole lot of fun. Slipping slightly more negative again, we have Game Informer, which gave it 7.75. While writer Jason Gisal definitely enjoyed the game, his main gripe seems to be that it doesn't innovate enough from previous entries. Beyond mounting monsters and using the wirebug to wall run in spectacular fashion, not much else distinguishes Monster Hunter Rise from the installments that came before. It has enough endgame to keep you occupied long after the credits roll, if you don't mind copious amounts of grinding, and multiplayer is still the optimal way to play, but the excitement of my early hunts waned before long. Monster Hunter Rise is far from being the next definitive chapter in the series. Nevertheless, if you're looking for a polished but conventional adventure with a few small-scale nuances, then you'll be right at home in Kamura Village. The final review I want to quickly look at is from Eurogamer, which doesn't give numerical scores, but did give it the Essential badge. That's a very good sign, but on top of that, reviewer Martin Robinson went so far as to say it's the Switch's best game since Breath of the Wild, which is high praise indeed. He also called it the most accessible, deepest, and simply the very best Monster Hunter to date. From what I can gather from reading these reviews and a handful of others, if you are already a Monster Hunter fan, this is more of what you like and does it very well despite the limited power of the Switch. If you don't already like the series, then this game won't be the one to convince you, but it's a great Monster Hunter title that gets the formula right. Monster Hunter World was the big one to make it more accessible to the mainstream and will likely be a better first step, but this one seems well worth a look if you just want to mess up some giant dinosaurs and dragons from the comfort of a Nintendo Switch. Among all the reviews on Metacritic at the time of writing, the most common number was 90 and it averaged out at 87 overall, so it's clearly been a huge hit for Capcom. I'm not sure this is my kind of game personally since I never really got Monster Hunter, but I'm sure fans of the series will have a great time. Plus, having a full-time dog companion is a huge selling point. And next up, the past 12 months have been very difficult for everyone, and games retail has taken a huge hit as an already dying sector. GameStop was in the news at the start of the year because Redditors expertly exploited the stock market in the exact same way stockbrokers gamble with the system, but it doesn't look like that was enough to save it. But the thing is, that's exactly the point, isn't it? Reddit just played Wall Street at its own game, but GameStop as a company gained nothing, proving the point that brokers just use the market as their personal casino.
Look what I found in my pocket! Look! A year's salary right here! What I call them? Fun coupons!
Anyway, rants about the rich hating us peasants aside, GameStop has seen a 21% drop in sales year over year. There are a number of factors that make this particularly newsworthy. The GameSpot stock situation, as I just mentioned, Christmas sales have just been, which is always a huge boon, the launch of 2 new massive next-gen consoles, the ongoing effects of the pandemic, and the ever-shrinking brick-and-mortar retail landscape. In a normal year, the launch of the new Xbox and PlayStation would have been a massive bump to GameStop sales figures. But with the US in various stages of lockdown, the stores can't open and they can't sell the damn machines, or worse, sell the pre-owned ones at huge markups. For the fiscal year that ended January 30th, the company's net sales dropped to $5.09 billion with a net loss of $215.3 million, which is far from insignificant, but it's not as severe as the previous year, which saw a loss of $470.9 million. As a staunch defender of physical media, it always bums me out to see old stores like this slipping away from relevance, but I also acknowledge that GameStop specifically doesn't have the best reputation with gamers. Things really aren't looking too hot over there in general, as Reggie Fils-Aimé is leaving the company's board. Formerly an icon of Nintendo, Reggie joined back in March last year along with former Walmart CEO Bill Simon and PetSmart president and CEO J.K. Szymanczyk. All 3 of these executives were brought in to fix the company, but now just a year later they're all jumping ship. GameStop has also seemingly sacked Frank Hamlin, the company's chief consumer officer, for quote, good reason. Whatever the reason, he's still getting a very healthy severance package, but evidently things really aren't looking great over there. Hamlin was leading the company's move to overhaul its stores to act more as social hubs for gaming and wider popular culture, as opposed to game sales. Physical game sales haven't been profitable for years, and GameStop is one of many retailers moving more into merchandising and esports to offset these losses. For 2021, the company is transforming into a consumer-obsessed technology company that delights gamers. I'm not sure how many gamers really get delight out of stores like GameStop and are obsessed with them, but yeah, sure, why not? Making the consumer experience better is always a good thing. GameStop, just like most physical retail, has been on a knife edge for years, and that has only grown sharper over the past 12 months, so the next 12 could really be make or break for this part of the industry. I've said it so many times before, but I'll be sad to no longer see physical game stores here in the UK when they eventually all vanish entirely, but that's just the nature of the beast at this point. Physical copies of games will always be available in online stores, but I'll just miss the feeling of walking into a shop, browsing games and picking one out at random only to find out that it was either really awful or the next best thing. And finally, Mario 3D All-Stars was all the Mario nostalgia anyone needed and was meant to be a great port of 3 of the plumber's best games. But because Nintendo likes to pull stupid ideas out of its arse, the game will be delisted from sale next week. There is literally no reason to pull the game from sale beyond creating artificial scarcity, and it is a really dirty business practice if you ask me. That's all this segment is. Just a reminder that if you want to support this bullshit, then you only have until Wednesday the 31st to do so. It is worth noting though that if you buy a code now, you will still be able to redeem it after the end of the month, but you won't be able to get a new code. And this isn't even the only game getting canned, as the Battle Royale style Super Mario 35 is also getting axed for absolutely no reason. The idea was that these games would celebrate the 35th anniversary of the character, but I fail to see how removing them from sale after just a few months is anything other than a greedy business move. And that's your lot for today. If you enjoyed this no shit format, go ahead and give the video a like to give it a boost, hit subscribe and the bell if you want to stay up to date on all future installments, toss a coin to your YouTuber over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. That's all for today. I've been Henry Cooper. Bye for now.